Do you want to know how to live completely for free in your own home? Well, this is the technique that my friends and I did when we were younger to actually live completely for free. The basic idea is that we would buy a home and then rent out some of the other bedrooms so that our cost was completely free. But instead of just talking at a high level, I want to break down the numbers for you so that you can understand how it actually works and how you can do it for yourself. I live here in Minnesota, and right now, the purchase price on a older 5-bedroom home might cost about $425,000. Now, that might sound like a lot of money to find, but the nice thing is you can get a loan to cover much of that expense. Now, you have to bring a down payment to that loan, and oftentimes you need to bring something in the realm of 20%. That is a lot of money on a $425,000 home. That's nearly $90,000. But there are ways to actually get that lower. And one way is by using an FHA loan, which allows you to go as low as 3.5% down. That only means you have to bring $15,000 to the table. Still a fair amount of money. And I'll talk about some techniques near the end of how to raise a large deposit. But with a low down payment of only $15,000, now your loan will be $410,000. Now, with that size of a loan, you'll have a mortgage and other fees involved. But before I talk about those other fees, let's talk about what you can make by renting out the bedrooms. In Minnesota, you might expect to get about $1,000 a month per bedroom. Now, one technique I recommend is actually to charge utilities separately. This allows you to show a lower monthly rent while still collecting that extra money for those utilities. Now, you might charge an additional $50 a month for utilities to cover your utility expense. So because that revenue is covering your expense, we're going to ignore that for right now. So with that $1,000 a month per bedroom, let's say that 5-bedroom house that you rent out just 4 of those bedrooms, that gives you $4,000 a month in income within that property. Awesome, right? We do have to take that down a little bit though, because you're going to have some vacancy. You're not always going to have those units completely or those bedrooms completely full. In fact, you might expect to see about a 5% vacancy, which is pretty normal. So off of that $4,000, you have to take $200 away for that 5% vacancy. That leaves you a revenue of $3,800. Still pretty awesome, right? Well, now we have the expenses. Let's take a look at that. Your mortgage is going to be a little bit more expensive than normal, partly because of today's interest rates at around 7%, but also because you didn't bring a large down payment. You're going to pay a mortgage insurance premium on top of your mortgage payment. So those two combined might cost you about $2,900 a month. Now you have taxes that might be around $400, insurance that might be $200, and maintenance. You need to save away money every month for that unexpected maintenance expense that will inevitably happen. That's maybe another $300 a month. This gives you $3,800 of expenses. So $3,800 of income, $3,800 of expenses. That's awesome because now you're living rent and expense free. Super awesome. Now it's way better than that actually, because you own this home. So over the next 30 years, as you're paying off that mortgage payment, you now have a more and more equity in that property. And over time, you'll own that home completely mortgage free. Think about that. Owning a $425,000 home for free. And that's the power of this. And this is what really helps you build long-term wealth for your own life. Now, I want to go back to that down payment. See, that $15,000, that's quite a bit of money, especially if you went all the way to $90,000, which I do typically recommend. How would you build up that amount of wealth quickly? Well, part of it is just setting aside money every single month into your savings, knowing that that money is going to be available for this down payment. But the other piece of it is you want to put your money somewhere that provides you a stable rate of return, but that rate of return needs to be as high as it reasonably can be. For me, I was able to earn a higher rate of return when I was younger because I could take that money and put it into the business I was working for at the time. And I would get, 10 or 12% rate of return on that invested money. It was fantastic. It let me build up that down payment relatively quickly. Now, that's not available to everyone, but as I worked in that business longer, I eventually became CEO of that company. And I said, why not take this investment opportunity and make it available to everyone in the United States? And so we've done that now. And now anyone can invest with us and earn an incredibly high rate of return that's quite stable. And so if you're interested to learn more about that, to build your own wealth in the long term, you can check that out by visiting the links below. It's called Norhart Invest. But overall, this is a great strategy to build that initial down payment, but also to build the wealth in an asset in real estate over time while keeping your expenses to a minimum. I highly recommend it. I did it myself. It's a great way to build wealth.